Last week on the Al Nicoletti Show. Without further ado, Gabe Bodner, Philip Stecco, let's go.
Investors aren't buying perfect properties. The best deals are the problem deals. If you're not working with the right title people, you're just getting burned.
So you have to have knowledge of how these transactions can be done safely, legally, and protect the parties involved.
When you get into a problem, you're getting free legal advice.
You can negotiate on a lot of these fees from title companies that you end up saving quite a bit if you're an investor when you're bundling these types of services together.
Every tool that you can bring that saves time and creates efficiency, that's you. You're going to win if you're creating solutions.
If you believe that you can't do something, you probably can. If you believe you can do it, you probably can.
Thank you so much for being on the Al Nicoletti Show.
Thank you for having us.
I called him at 3 o'clock today, and I'm like, Phil, hey, we're going to go on Al Nicoletti Show. You ready to rock? Like, you ready to do this?
It's been fun. We'll see you soon, guys. Gosh, I had so much fun with them last week. If you didn't get to check out Gabe and Phil's episode, go back. You got to check it out. It's on Apple, Spotify, under the Al Nicoletti Show. And you can check out all the guests that have been on the show on video on YouTube. The micro comes out on Facebook and Instagram. I got all the micros constantly dropping, plus all the other content that's constantly dropping on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Go check it out under the Al Nicoletti name. You'll see it there. You all are in for a treat. Tonight, I have a guy that is super knowledgeable when it comes to systems, land investing, and an amazing Facebook group, the School of Sharks. So I can't wait to introduce him. It's going to be a blast. We're going to get into so many things, and he's a whiz when it comes to this stuff with systems and qualifying sellers and getting into those systems and really building it out so you can succeed in your land deals. And he's going to tell you all about that and how you can grow your business and take it to the next level. So again, it's Wednesday night, 9 o'clock. I'm so happy everybody's watching. Thank you for being here. This is incredible. And that episode felt like it was a month ago. I can't believe it's another week on the Wednesday show. And again, can't wait to begin. Can't wait to introduce the guests. So I have my introduction. So here we go. Hey everybody, my name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida, and welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their community that educate, entertain, and inspire all things on Florida real estate and beyond, going beyond and bringing on amazing people that can teach you amazing things in the real estate world, whether it's the investing side, the wholesaling side, using your self-directed IRA, lands, systems, CRMs, you name it. Bringing on people and amazing guests that understand how to help you take your business to the next level. So on my show today, I have the man, the myth, the legend, Bhaskar Pandey. He is the man when it comes to land investing systems and growing an epic Facebook group that I've seen from the beginning, the School of Sharks. It's incredible. He has amazing value, brings amazing people in the group, and it's constantly growing. And I can't wait for him to share it. And we're going to talk about land investing and how you can hit those six-figure months. How are you able to really nail it and get those six-figure months, and qualifying the sellers through systems, automation. And it's crazy because he'll tell you about how he went from a full-time job to now he's full-time real estate. And this is an inspiring story that we got to hear about, because a lot of people wonder about how you can really make that transition. How do you go from your job that you're doing every day, 9 to 5 or however long it is, to being full-time investing? So we're going to talk about that and all about the work-life balance, right? That's really hard in our industry where real estate's 24/7. He's going to talk about how you can take things that you're doing in work, but also be able to decompress and figure out how you got to deal things in life and personally, and just step away from that a little bit. You don't want to be so into it all the time. And we're going to talk about the School of Sharks, the epic Facebook group, and how its mission has impacted lives and is starting to take shape and take a huge role in the Facebook community. And it's a strong Facebook group. And he's also we're going to talk about the launch. We can't forget. We're saving this for last because this is the big thing. I see him backstage. He knows it too. The biggest thing, the biggest surprise he has for everybody that he can't wait to roll out at the end of June. Yes, Bhaskar, I've seen the dates. The end of June, it's coming up, which is going to be a huge opportunity for people that do want to get in the land investing business. He's going to have Yogi Mole, Bettina, Dancito. I mean, it's going to be a huge thing. The launch, it's coming. So again, without further ado, let's welcome to the show, Bhaskar. What's going on, man?
Al, thank you so much, first of all, for having me. It's my pleasure, my honor. I can't believe I'm on the Al Nicoletti Show today.
Thanks,
I appreciate that.
Of course. You know I had to bring you on. We've worked together on some things with the Facebook ads and getting into the interesting things in the world of groups and automation systems and all that stuff. I've seen what you've done. And remember, first time I met you was at the Hive Mind conference. We all really met for the first time through Clubhouse.
That's right.
And since that day, I mean, from Clubhouse to you growing the School of Sharks to us working on some projects to you now building this whole system out with the launch and everything, we're so excited to hear it.
I'm excited to talk about it. It was amazing energy from the minute we met in person, right? This was in Dallas last year, October, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And then who knew, we would be working on so many things together. This is awesome.
I love it. You got to tell everybody, like, before we jump into a lot of like the six-figure, how people can get into the land investing and your journey through the land investing and what people can do to hit those six-figure months. Tell everybody your journey though, like how it all really began. And like we were talking about the fact that you had that work schedule, the 9-to-5 job, and you were kind of doing the real estate on the side. How did it all begin? How did you get here?
Yeah, sure. So I worked as a network security engineer I've been in the IT world for the last 15 years or so, just under 15 years. And I spent the better part of last 5 years just working in specifically the networking and security world. And great job, gave me a lot of flexibility. Both my wife and I would travel and work from wherever possible. We would be in California, we'd be on the East Coast, and we could work. When you've mastered your craft, it becomes fairly stress-free, correct? That's what happened with me. I only was working a few hours a day, found myself with some spare time. So I started looking at buying rental properties. I have a few rental properties now. Then I started looking at doing some wholesaling to grow some quick cash reserves. And I very quickly realized you have limited mental capacity to really focus on one thing. And what that one thing is for you, you need to determine based upon what you love to do, what brings you the most fulfillment, satisfaction, what brings you the most financial returns so you can eventually get the freedom that you're seeking. Everybody wants time on their hands, right? And they want to be able to live on their terms. So my job was great. I loved the company. I loved what I did. But ultimately, I did have to follow a very rigid schedule. Ultimately, I did answer to other people. And ultimately, I would have to jump on calls, meetings, projects, whenever it called, whenever they asked me to. Right? So I decided I would need to build some infrastructure that will allow me to live on my terms, that would give me the financial freedom that I would need, that I'm seeking, So I started looking at what different avenues were presented out there. And frankly, just like a lot of other people who start in real estate, they either look at fixing and flipping houses. I quickly realized that wasn't for me because it takes a lot of capital to start. You have unlimited problems. You have to deal with contractors. You have to ensure the project's completed timely. So much could go wrong. It's not for somebody who's just starting out. Buying rental properties is a slow process to building wealth. That left me with a couple of options. It left me with wholesaling single family homes. And I realized there is way too much competition, way too much goes wrong in that world also. I had some deals fall through. And right around that time, I met the Hive Mind guys. I met Anthony Gauna. I met well, mostly Anthony, and he pitched me this crazy idea that he had, and he said, "Hey, I'm building this community called the Hive Mind. I think you're going to benefit from joining it." I didn't know what he was going to do, but I liked and believed in the guy. I still do. So I said, I'm in. And just a few conversations later, I realized I fit in the land investing world. I felt like that was what my lane needs to be. It doesn't come without its fair share of challenges. It doesn't come without its fair share of learning that needs to happen. It was a brand new world for me. But since that point, which was early to mid 2021, I dove in head first. I started building tools, infrastructure, processes, and fast forward about a year, I quit my job, and like you mentioned, we've been very blessed with some very decent months in terms of revenue.
Amazing. So got a question. So backing up a couple steps, going back to the corporate mindset, like you're working in the corporate world, but you're also trying to get your feet wet with the real estate, right?
Right.
This is what happens with some people. So
A lot of people.
right, they'll watch this later and they're thinking to themselves, hey, I got a job. I'm doing that right now, but I want to dabble with land or investing on the side. What was the journey like? What was the mindset like, right? So two things.
Absolutely.
What were you thinking when you started out dabbling in some of the real estate and then you were going to your job? Like you're going in now every day and going, I could run my own business. Like I can do my own thing. I don't have to have somebody under me or on top of me every day. Like I can have my own team. But on the real estate side, you were talking about the contractors and going through almost like going through different cycles, different assets in real estate. Were you dabbling with the single families and doing some construction stuff? So that's what helped you narrow that path before you made the jump.
You're absolutely right. So there are two things that I had thought of doing, and I heavily invested in trainings for myself. I attended a lot of masterminds. I attended a lot of training seminars. I would fly to different parts of the country to attend real estate meetups. A notable one I attended was in Atlanta, Georgia in 2018. Also, December of 2018, I attended a owner finance seminar by Dan Diaz, who happens to be the co-founder and my business partner in School of Sharks now. And it was important for me to network heavily. It was important for me to gain knowledge. I didn't want to dive into any particular field until I knew what each field was about. What would it take to be successful in one of those fields? So I made it a point for myself to go seek out people that were successful in these different areas and ask them questions, figure out what are they doing that's working for them. I asked questions around what might not have worked for them. What were some pitfalls they saw? And ultimately, I decided I need to pick one lane. It doesn't matter what lane, I just need to pick something and stick with it. There are so many shiny objects in the world of real estate, Al. People think fixing and flipping is glamorous because it's shown on TV as being a very glamorous field. A lot of people think being a realtor is what it means to be in real estate. A lot of people, majority of the people I've talked to have no clue how land investing works. So I made a point before I called myself an investor. A, I would learn about these different areas as much as I could. B, I would try out different areas, fail at it if I needed to, and I won't call myself an investor until I have at least $1 million worth of real estate owned personally. And that's exactly what I did. So I didn't tell anybody I was investing. I didn't tell anyone that I'm an investor. I wouldn't call myself an investor. I just kept on building my network. I kept on working on building my net worth by buying rentals, rehabbing them, getting a taste of what it is like to be a landlord, getting a taste of what it is to rehab properties. How much is it going to cost? Can I be within budget? The problems I face, the learning about the process by doing. Some of the key, I do want to throw a couple of shout outs here. Some of the key people who I met who influenced this decision were Corey Thompson. Corey Thompson owns Roughneck the Real Estate. I attended a seminar in 2019, early 2019 in San Marcos. I remember he only charged $100 for his class, and that man spoke all day teaching us the real secrets of wholesaling. And when I saw what he was doing, that's when I realized this is something I can most certainly do. Given my background, I was fairly confident at that point. So, not trying to digress too much. So Corey Thompson did influence me quite a bit. Then I met Anthony, of course, who kind of got me to go into this land world.
The Hive guys.
The Hive guys, yes. And then Dan Diaz had a big role to play. Him and I would converse regularly since me going to his class, and he would plant the seeds all the time. He would say, the day you leave your job, you're going to see massive success. I didn't know what it means. I'm like, I'm doing okay right now. He goes, no, but the day you really decide to go on your own is when you'll see massive success. And those words stuck with me. So then I also got in touch with Logan Fulmer out of San Antonio. He's a very, very successful investor. And I've been close with him now recently as well. And he's been mentoring me too. So all these great people, you truly are the sum total of the 5 people you hang out with. You're the 5th person, Al. The personality, the energy, the vibe that you bring to this has been amazing, right?
Thank you.
So you truly do learn from the people that you surround yourself with. And these are the people who I really strove to surround myself with, Finally, I started building something on the side. I did fully understand that what you nurture grows. You can't be doing 4 different things and expect to be succeeding at 4 different things, especially not when you're starting out, right? My focus was not yet found. I didn't know if it was going to be single family homes, rental properties, it was going to be owner finance or wholesaling. But it just so happened that I decided, you know what, I'm going to pick land because Anthony Gauna convinced me land was profitable. And I didn't know much about it. I dove in, I took many different courses, right? I also learned from John Alexander. He has a course out there. He has several books out there. And at the end of the day, man, this was just something I took on, didn't look back. And now, like you mentioned, we're having, we're knock on wood, we're blessed with those 6-figure months regularly.
Yeah. No, and this is amazing. I mean, you shouted out some big people, right? Corey Thompson, huge name. Anthony Guyana and Daniel Martinez. I see Daniel's commenting. Daniel and Anthony are the amazing people from the Hive Mind. If you've never seen it, check it out, the CRM out there. But, I mean, you're talking big names. Logan, another big name.
Dan Diaz.
Yeah, Logan's a big name when it comes to that messy, weird stuff.
Sure. Yes.
And I'm honored, man. I mean, I'm honored to – I love seeing your journey. I mean, remember, this really all started because of the whole Clubhouse pandemic thing. We all could network, right? Then we're all on our phone. And every Saturday, Anthony and Daniel, they put together the Clubhouse thing and we'd be on it, going back and forth, helping people. So your growth is amazing. And I love seeing it. It's incredible that you've been able to, I mean, when you told me the other day, you're like, I went full-time real estate. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like it really, it happens for people. So it's exciting to see. And I loved how you talked about, you didn't want to call yourself an investor until you hit the $1 million mark.
I did, and this was something, it was a personal goal of mine. And I'm not saying this to brag. I just set a milestone for myself. When I hit it, I could introduce myself as a real estate investor. That was my promise to myself. So I didn't start doing that until I had rental properties, I had passive income coming, I had, a net worth that hit that. And just with the persistence, like I just didn't want to give up and just say, I think I'll just stick to doing what I do best, which was network security engineering at that time. And it worked out. And you know what? Dan Diaz was right. When I did quit my job and I was able to dedicate my full mental capacity towards growing my own business, it happened for me. It's a lot of work. Instead of working 9 to 5, I'm working 5 to 9 now, but I'm loving every single minute of it. We're getting the returns we were hoping for. There's a long road ahead still, but we are on the way for sure. And yeah, man, here we are on the Al Nicoletti Show after all.
I love it. I love it. And shout out again to the land mogul himself, John Alexander, who,
Absolutely.
I mean, has influenced and impacted so many people when it comes to land investing. Didn't want to forget about John, because John is killing it with what he's doing. He's showing that stuff in the land mogul group and everything like that. It's awesome. And land, I mean, so you get into the niche, you really find out that you don't want to deal with the single family or the construction. You want to deal with the land investing. And frankly, to you, like, it does sound interesting, right? We had Derby LaRock on a couple weeks ago, and Derby, the land queen, she's been killing it in the Florida market with all the land deals, doing her coaching program, and she's been crushing it. She loves land, talks about like building relationships with the developers and the builders. So talk to us about the niche in land and what you love, the tricks, the tips, the golden nuggets, how people can really capitalize on this, whether you're in the Texas market, the Florida market, and the things you've learned along the way that you wish you knew.
Right. Great question. So from the get-go, Al, I decided I wasn't going to be one of those people that does one deal and then worries about where the next deal is going to come from, then worries about, am I going to be able to repeat this? I set out to build this with the mentality of, with the objective of building repeatability and predictability in the business. I didn't want to just contract pieces of land, not knowing what to do with them, not knowing if I'm going to have buyers or not. So I took the reverse wholesaling approach. I started building relationships with builders, with developers first. So we don't advertise every single parcel we get under contract, because, with the network we've built, a lot of those properties are pre-sold, because we're intentionally hunting for land that fits somebody's buying criteria already. So networking and seeking the right builders, buyers for the right buyer for whatever product you are setting out to create or sell is the most important part. So for me, one of the most important things was there is data available all around us. And by data, I don't mean you just pull a list and you start texting people. You don't start just cold calling people. We took data from various sources. We took data from the MLS in the markets that we are in, and based upon that data, we were able to figure out which areas have the most amount of activity going on, specifically new builds going on, and we were able to figure out who are the builders that are building in those areas. We were able to rank these neighborhoods and these cities within a major metro on from the most number of homes built to the least number of homes built. And then we started looking for the people, the builders that are building in those hot areas. And we started calling them. We built some relationships with them. We introduced ourselves. One important thing I'm going to say is that before we approached these builders, I wanted to make sure these builders were going to take me seriously. And builders won't take you seriously until a couple of things happen. Until you have inventory to show them that you are active, and until you've got a brand presence for them to validate, to see they're dealing with somebody substantial. So I focused on those. I found some pieces of land in the general vicinity of where these people were operating without me having a buyer yet. That helped me have some land to present to them should they say, yeah, send me over what you have, right? So I did build some of that first. Then I also built a solid website. I built, my branding. I worked very hard. Just like yourself, you do understand marketing and branding is key in any business. So we focused on that as well. We built a website, which I'm proud of, which you'll see, prsusa.org. We also built, we have business cards, we have business attire, we have logoed shirts. When we hop on a call with a builder, we're fully badged up. We show them, hey, this is our website, go check us out, send us a message. Our inventory is regularly posted on my website. All of those things helped get the foot in the door with these builders. So once we made relationships with a few builders, then we started hunting for land specifically for them. Now that's what ensures that we're not wasting our time trying to find land that I'm not going to have a buyer for. Now I go after land, which I know what my buyers want and will fly off the shelves.
I love it. So it was very strategic, and I loved how like and we can get into like what were some of the ways you were able to find out where these builders were focusing and how you knew that market was either warm or getting hot, or maybe the indicators. I don't know. Maybe there were certain software systems or the Zillows out there. Maybe you're like zoning in or something like that, or Google Maps. I don't know. Maybe you can see construction stuff or drive by. Right? Yeah, there we go.
All of the above.
All the above, right?
Well,
But you were strategic.
most
You you wanted them to take you seriously, and the way that they would take you seriously is you show them, say, "Hey, I own land in the area. I may not own it next to your place, but I own it in the area, and I'm an active investor. I'm actively buying these and offloading them to builders and contractors." So,
Exactly.
and then you're smart by doing the branding, and then really being strategic, the strategic investing with land.
Absolutely. All of my team members, they all have business cards, personalized business cards. All of my team members have a business phone line. So we do this. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Somebody had told me, "Hey, you can't think of yourself as the little fish. You got to think of yourself as a $20 million company, as a 20-person company, and you've got to borrow the confidence and the embodiment of a very successful business." And that's what we did, and that's what really worked out. The conversations I've held with builders, developers, and we continue to hold those regularly. That's where a large amount of my time is spent, building those relationships that'll continue guaranteeing that my product continues to have demand. And I did that by embodying the personality of somebody that is running a major operation. And we're there now. You fake it till you make it, pretty much, right? And now we're there. We've got those relationships in place. We have a pipeline full of leads. We have inventory we're selling now. We have deals in escrow. We have stuff closing this week. So there's a method to this madness. You're going to have to not look at yourself as a one deal person, that I'm only looking to do my first deal. I started believing that I'm going to do a ton of these deals every month, even before I had done my very first deal. And today, that's the reality. We are talking about so many deals throughout the day. We have different people working on different parts of different deals. There are deals that are in escrow. There are deals we are negotiating with sellers. There are deals that buyers are looking at. I just wired earnest money for some deals that we're buying. It's happening all around me. I can't tell you it went from 0 to 60 so quickly because the approach was right.
Wow. And you know what you're talking about so much with going directly to the builders and building that relationship is it sounded like you were really ready to set up your disposition side of your business first before you got to even acquisition. It sounds like you were really confident in your way of acquiring deals, right? That's like a lot of the anxiety and worry of an investor really starting is, can I get a deal? And then they get a deal, but then they don't have the dispo set up. You're thinking, I want to get dispo, and then I'll worry about that. What was your mindset like? How did you start working through acquisitions, building that side of it, knowing how to really tap into that? Because that's another psychology with sellers. Do they want to sell? What's the price? What's the price point? What's happening with the market?
So if you talk to any land investor or anyone that's getting started in land, they'll tell you the supply side is the easy part. The acquisition piece is the easy piece. The disposition is where people either make it or break it. So the disposition, I mean, I'm in all fairness, there are deals that we don't have buyers for sometimes. There is a piece of land in one of my markets that I'm just buying because I'm in a contract with a seller I don't have a buyer for, but I'm going to buy it, keep it, hold on to it for as long as I need to, because the deal is so great. It's worth me buying that piece of land at the price that I'm getting at. I'll sell it. I guarantee you we'll make money on it. It may take a while to sell, but we will make money on it. So to answer your question about the acquisition side of things, Al, there is so much information available out there. I'm not sure if you know someone by the name Damien Dupuy. He's out of Charlotte, North Carolina. He's got his own YouTube channel that I started watching early in the morning, just because I was up early. I was looking for something to watch, and his video just seemed to pop up. And there's so much content available that'll teach you how to acquire land fairly easily. I mean, it's not rocket science. A lot of people are doing it. You go after the motivated sellers. You go after the people that are tax delinquent. You go after people who own land in markets that they don't live in themselves. And at the end of the day, it is a numbers game. You're trying to hit as many people as possible. You're not changing anyone's mind. You're not persuading anyone to sell their land. All you're doing is seeking people that are already motivated to sell their land. They just don't know who to sell to. So you're looking for motivated people that are wanting to sell, and they just wanted to have the right conversation at the right time with the right people. And we're that people for them. We have the right conversation with them. We make them an offer that makes sense for them. Specifically, I want to stress that in my business, we don't take advantage of anybody. We're not buying land at pennies on the dollar. A lot of courses out there teach you to try to buy land at 25% of market value, 30% of market value, 40% of market value. We don't do that. We try to make a deal together. We try to put deals together where the seller's happy that they're getting a fair price. But we're able to do that because we know what our buyers are buying at. So in this situation, my seller gets what they expect to make or what they hope to sell their land for. We know what our builders or buyers are going to be ready to buy this at, and we make in the process off of the difference of the two prices. We've also, this is a very crude explanation. A lot of tools go into that process. I've actually built some tools myself. We've built some formulae, some spreadsheets that my team uses to be able to come up with offers that make sense for everyone. And it's not an easy process to explain. A lot of analytics and data went into it. So I do believe in hyper-focusing in the market that you're in. So you understand the zip codes, you understand the neighborhoods, you understand the trend in that market. So this tool that I built, I call it the land value calculator. My team's very familiar with it. There's formulations that went into there that spit out offers that differ based upon a lot of different factors. We don't just go by CAD value or market value. We go by it's a sliding scale of offer calculation, which is helping us really pinpoint what price points make sense for us, would make sense for the seller, and would still leave profit at the table, even if I sell it under market value. So a lot of work has gone into creating something that is now just churning out good, solid, profitable deals.
Yeah, so much stuff that you talked about. I'm even taking notes. How many of you out there are taking notes on all this stuff? I see my guy, Robert Rodriguez out there. Daniel's watching. I'm taking notes, guys. And what Bhaskar is talking about when it comes to the land value calculator and price points, those are golden nuggets out there, because, the seller may be thinking one number, and then you're thinking the other number. And if, you can't come to that agreement, then you know what, maybe the numbers don't work, or maybe there's a builder that really wants to pay for that. Right.
That's right.
But three things that I wrote down that could be huge value to the audience. One is the best marketing strategy, like whether it's cold call or direct mail, that you think's great marketing. What do you do in a situation when you're in that Texas market, but you find a deal in Ocala, you find a deal in Orlando with land? How are you able to dispo that out to a builder that's not in that market? And tight numbers. Yeah, I think you kind of covered that with the land value calculator, but how do you deal with those situations? I think this is all huge when it comes to land, right? So tight numbers, marketing, and out-of-state buyers.
So 100% of my deals have been done where I haven't set foot on the land personally, or visited it, or been next to it, or taken pictures of it. Everything we've done is in remote markets. You mentioned Ocala. I did a deal in Ocala. It was one of my very early land deals. My major market is Phoenix, which is the wholesaling capital of the world, right? All of the biggest wholesalers live in Phoenix, yet 90% of our deals are in Phoenix and surrounding areas. We have some deals in Texas only because I live here, but most of that land is in San Antonio. I'm in Houston. So land, if you understand it well, just like wholesaling houses, you don't necessarily physically need to be present on that land. There are some universal characteristics. If you can find the facts for those properties about a land, you can pretty much sell land anywhere. There are things like whether the property is zoned appropriately, whether the property is in a flood zone, right? Are there any ordinances that restrict any kind of building? Are there variances required for you to be able to build on it? What are the setback requirements, right? Is there a minimum building time frame if you buy that property? Is it in an HOA? There are so many of these parameters that allow that you understand and you find out about a piece of land that allow you to figure out whether this is a good property to buy, whether this property would be an ideal candidate for one of my builders or an end buyer if a builder doesn't want it. Properties that can accommodate manufactured homes are super hot. Properties that come with utilities sell almost instantly. Properties that may have some utilities, might be missing sewer or septic, would still sell. You just have to realize whether you're leaving room in that deal for your end buyer to be able to afford to put a septic tank in. It's little things. It's understanding not just your market, but the product that you're selling also. If you're not in love with the product that you're pushing, why is anyone else going to buy it from you? If you don't understand it well enough, how are people going to, how do you know if what you're selling is worth buying?
Love it.
That's what we focus on. We focus on going deep. When people contract a property, when buyers buy from us, they try to get a due diligence period so they can find out facts about the property. Well, my team does such an amazing job. Shout out to them, by the way. They're so great at doing land analysis and underwriting that they have already found answers to most of the questions people ask during the due diligence period. Utilities, setbacks, zoning, what can or cannot be built, flood zones, wetlands, dimensions, location, altitude. We find out all that information beforehand. So when a buyer does approach us, we have a nice little package of information to give to them that reduces that due diligence time and it increases their confidence in doing business with us when they see us that we're so thorough.
That's a great point right there. That your ability to know all of those things in advance before you get with the sellers and even the end buyers, because they may be asking those questions. You may have a situation where your end buyer wants to know about the environmental, the setback, because the setback, or how is it zoned, right? They may want something for commercial,
Right.
but it's really zoned for residential. And, in that neighborhood or that community, how easy is it to be able to overcome going from a rezone of single family to commercial or vice versa? Is it hard? So I love that. It's a great golden nugget, Bhaskar, because anybody that gets into this, know that. You can't know everything, right? You can't know everything going into, you learn it, right?
Exactly right. You got to know what it is that makes a piece of land valuable. There are different strategies. There are people that are doing very well in land, but they're using a totally different approach than mine. They contract the property. They have a very different approach. My approach is coming from an IT and an engineering background. My approach is to find out as much information as you can and only contract the pieces of land you think are valuable, will generate profit, and will be desirable by an end buyer, right? I don't intend on contracting or buying pieces of land that we may not be able to move for a very long time. It may be too expensive. It may be missing key things that would require a lot of money to put in: water, septic, sewer, electricity. So we're trying to find an ideal piece of property. But the advantage we have is that for the most part, my team is trained so well that they know what to look for. And for the most part, we have builders and buyers who we know what they're looking for. So we go out with hunting, knowing exactly what we need to find.
Love it. Yeah, that's huge golden nuggets right there. I mean, and anybody that wants to ask any questions, anybody that's out there, Bhaskar, we're live. I mean, you ask away. We'll make sure we'll get it up on the screen. We'll see you out there. I mean, amazing people watching tonight, Bhaskar. Before we jump into the epic Facebook group, the School of Sharks, everybody's got to stay tuned for this one because he's going to dive in. But Frank Spalding, my guy Frank, he's watching out there.
Hey, Frank.
Yeah, Frank. And he was saying land with utilities is like a house with a pool.
Right. Exactly right. People are attracted to houses with pools, right? Everybody wants to buy that nice house with a pool. Land with utilities is like that. Not all parcels of land come with utilities, but if you come across some that has some or all utilities available, it sells in minutes.
Huge.
It sells in minutes. I do want to, say a few things like, if you're doing land or if you're doing wholesaling or if you're wanting to get into flipping houses, training for yourself and for your virtual assistants or for your in-person team is super key. So we ensure that our team syncs up regularly. We have assigned training material to the team. We want to make sure that we're not going to be in front of sellers or in front of builders and buyers looking like we don't know what we're doing. So most importantly, educating yourself first before diving into anything you choose or you wish to call a career for yourself. You have to commit to it. You have to commit to knowing as much as you possibly can. I don't know everything, but if I don't know something, I do try to research that as soon as possible so that I can answer not only my own team's questions, but a lot of times my team puts me on the phone directly with the seller. They'll call me and say, hey, the seller's on the line. And I'm just like, okay, I don't know what he's going to talk about. Sometimes a buyer's on the line and he's willing to negotiate certain things I've never heard of. So I just got to make sure that I'm prepared as best as possible because ultimately the success of my business depends critically on my knowledge and my skill set.
And your team. I mean,
and my team.
And you got a team under you that's working. Shout out to Maddie. I know she's out there somewhere and she's killing it, right?
Andrew and Steph. And we do have an amazing team. So remember I mentioned I set out to build a $20 million company that was a 20-member team in my head already. So I started looking for people with the right attitude. Incidentally, I connected with Maddie in a clubhouse room as well. I connected with Andrew through another wholesaler in San Antonio. And these people brought so much grit with them, so much desire to succeed. They were willing to do anything. And we went through such rigorous training. We have they have a huge hand in setting up the processes, fine-tuning what we're doing. So having a good team with the right attitude, with the right team mentality is super key. Super key. The other thing I want to say to whoever's listening is if you're looking to build, whether you're a solopreneur or you want to build a team, is start with the processes in mind. Build a process that you can rinse and repeat, and build a process you can show to a team member once you bring a team member on board. The biggest waste of time is regurgitating the same way of doing things to your team members in person again and again. So record videos, write some step-by-step training material, write some SOPs. You should have everything in place. You should first be super clear on what needs to be done in order for you to go from looking for a seller to selling that property. Make a list of steps involved, then go dive deep into what each step entails. And that needs to be super clear to not only you first, but then your team as well that's going to be actually executing that on a daily basis. So don't just shoot arrows in the dark. Being prepared really helps to succeed.
Yeah, I love it. And that's one thing I want to dive in on a little bit before we get into the Facebook groups, which is your way of building out those systems so that it flows. You're not repeating yourself over and over again, and you're making some videos that are educational. It's hard to make those looms though, right? Yeah. It's hard to but you got to take the time, invest it, and be able to record it and explain it and break it down. But then you're not all having to jump on one Zoom together and then, maybe it's just confusion. Everybody can't meet, but you're able to record and do all that. That's huge stuff out there. I love that. And I just want to say a couple shout outs. Alex Ottawell's watching. Alex, you're watching tonight. The Mobile Home King is out there in Florida. Alex, this would be a great connection with Bhaskar, because if you're getting in the construction, he could be going after land in Florida, and you never know, that could be an end buyer right there. So Alex is the man. And then you got Andrew's watching, and Frank, he said, land with utilities screams usable. Why is some land still sitting after decades? Sometimes it's because of water levels, easements, utility right-of-ways. Think power lines splitting land in half.
Yeah, so yeah, I think he's referring. There's so much land available, right? But not every piece of land is of use to someone. It may be of use to some people. It may not be of use to me. So land like improved real estate, like single family homes, apartments, commercial buildings. There are so many niches in land as well. There's infill lots. There's vacant, raw, rural vacant land. There's just this undeveloped land. There is recreational land. There's commercial land. There's industrial lots. There's so many different lanes within land. And again, I do believe in going deep. So my team is focused on infill only. Once we feel like we've mastered and put infill lot acquisition and disposition on somewhat autopilot, we're going to be going towards the next the next natural progression, which is buying larger tracts of land, subdividing it, and then selling individually for far greater profits. But I want to learn how to walk before I can run. Right now, we're learning how to crawl before we can walk, and we're doing it so systematically that every step is going to be what the next subsequent step builds upon. So we'll get there. We'll be buying some large, hopefully we'll be buying some large tracts of land pretty soon and be subdividing and selling for much greater profits.
Yeah, and I want to say about your systems that you've built out. So I still remember there was that Facebook post. I don't know if it was 6 months ago or a year ago, but I remember you were building out the way to qualify sellers on an acquisition side, and you were showing people this is the way you do systems, and you're able to build out a way of qualifying. And it was like yes, no questions, yes, no, yes, no. And then you're not the one that's answering all those questions for the seller. And I remember seeing that myself and going like, whoa, this guy's advanced. Like, I don't know where he learned that, but then you're able to explain it to your team, to, a Maddie and Andrew, and able to explain like, this is how we are able to do this, and then explain it to the masses. And your knowledge when it comes to building those things out, that's just a glimpse of a snapshot of the kind of things that you set up for your team. It's huge.
Yeah, I want to say, there is no one size fits all in this business. A lot of people ask me, hey, I want to get started. Like, can I see your SOPs? Can I see how you're doing your business? And I tell everybody, there's so much that could differ between my business and what you hope to accomplish. You may want to make different amounts of money. You may want to make money at different pace. You may want to go after different type of land. You may have a completely different understanding of land and how to turn it for a profit. So what I do and what I specialize in is being able to block off the noise, which I was very prone to in the beginning. I just wanted to run after every little thing that I found other people having success with, and I was getting frustrated because I wasn't having success with it. Ultimately, I realized I got to focus on what I want to accomplish and build systems and processes around it. So shout out to HiveMind, because HiveMind did get me started. It got me the software platform that allows for a lot of automation to happen. And since HiveMind, we have graduated. We're still using HiveMind for a part of our business, but we've graduated to some additional tools. Matter of fact, I'm actually having a custom software program for my own business. It's not something that I plan on doing commercially. There were platforms out there that are great at doing one thing, but there's so much my business needs to function together. There was no one platform where I could just use for in a very cohesive fashion. The handoffs are difficult. Keeping track of properties versus keeping track of leads versus keeping track of negotiations happening, keeping track of all the documents that we have in place. There are some tools that are good at one or many of those things, but there is no one single tool that at least for my needs, that does it all. So we've reached a point where we think it's time for us to invest into a custom built tool, and we're calling it Central. And Central is going to be that tool where we store contracts, we store property details, we store buyer information, we store seller information. And it's not that tools aren't available. HiveMind can do a lot of that. It's I want to build something that takes the least amount of effort and makes it the smoothest possible experience for my team to use, so they don't spend majority of their time figuring out the platforms and the tools. They spend a majority of their time actually doing deals, and the platform needs to be so super simple that they need to be able to just breeze through it. So
Right.
so that's what's next for us. But yeah, no, HiveMind's been a great platform. We've automated so much in HiveMind that takes us very far in this business, and then we hand it off to some other platforms and some other tools. We've built a lot of spreadsheets internally, Google Sheets specifically, because I believe in tracking as much as you can, as clearly as you can, so you don't get blindsided by anything. So we've built a lot of spreadsheets, like the land value calculator is one. We have something called the contract tracker, which tracks the key parameters of a contract. We track seller details, buyer details, due diligence dates, due diligence periods, contract dates, closing dates, who the escrow officers are, which the title company is, who's on the acquisition side, who's on the disposition side. Just so much to track. So we have a tool that tracks that specifically. Then, just like with your business, I'm sure you have financials to track. You have expenses, you have revenue, you have operating expenses. You may even have some CapEx costs. You may be renting a building, or you might be buying an office space, or you might have infrastructure like laptops. You may have monitors, you may have microphones. So I'm not a businessman. My business is built out of necessity for tracking these things. I realized I need to know where my money's going. How much are commissions that are being paid every month? How much am I going to need to put aside for taxes? How much am I spending on subscriptions? How much am I spending on data, skip tracing? So there are some trackers that are built to specifically keep track of that. And overall, when you put all of these things together, these are all of the bare minimum things I need. They're very crudely built, but the beautiful part is they're built to fit my business's needs, and they're working. As we grow, I'm sure there are some very high cost and high successful tools available. Like Salesforce is one. I've heard really good things about people using Salesforce and customizing it. I tried to find out how much that thing costs, and it's more than I can afford to pay right now. But someday soon, hopefully, we'll reach that level where that tool may be the fit that we're looking for. But right now, between HiveMind, some spreadsheets, a couple of other tools, and then Central in the near future, we're going to be able to run a very tight operation.
And it's amazing. Some of the things that you're talking about really may not be a lot of overhead. And a lot of people that are just getting into the game think they got to have all these like expensive software systems, right? And then you have amazing things like the HiveMind that helps with the automation, the systems, building it out, whether it's the text, the calls, or filtering out leads and cold leads and hot leads. And at least you know where things are going.
Absolutely.
Like Bhaskar's talking about, do what fits for you.
Exactly
Find
right.
the things that work for you. You don't have to go after what everyone else is going through. Sometimes the things that other people are doing may not fit for your systems. And so
I guarantee you they won't. They
Yeah.
won't, because you're not in the same stage in your journey as somebody else might be. You're starting out at you have certain amount of capital, you have certain amount of time, you have certain amount of knowledge and experience that may completely differ from someone else that you want to be like. And to your point about applications and software, HiveMind does let you do quite a bit. When you're starting out, very well might be everything you need, right?
Right.
And then as you grow and you figure out what are additional needs, then you can add in the tools that you need a la carte, right? DocuSign may work for you, it may not work for me. I may go to some other platform, RabbitSign or SignRequest or Dotloop, for instance, right? You may not like Zoom. You might go to Microsoft Teams. We're constantly adapting too. we were using Slack for communications heavily internally. We're making the switch to Microsoft Teams because we've outgrown what Slack can do for us. Now we're going to go to something that allows us to do a little bit more collaborative work. There's more features and functionalities available there. So this is a rabbit hole. I think we can talk about it all night long.
All night.
But it really start with one tool, add what you need. If it's not working for you, swap it out for something else, and then keep adding to it as you go. Ultimately, for you, what works for you is what works for you, and only you can figure that out. Somebody can't come and say, hey, this is what worked for me, this should work for you as well, because we're so different. Our ambitions are different. I don't work like a lot of people do late at night. I work early in the morning. Some people like to work, some people get up late, some people don't like to work with other people. They're a solo operation. The same tools may not work for you. You may not need collaborative team software. You might be happy with just a software that allows you to do what you want to do at your own pace, right?
Amazing. Yeah. Again, do what works for you. And I mean, Bhaskar, like you said, we could talk about this all night. I mean, this is a solid session on land for sure. And systems and building that out and what that's like. Huge value. So if you just jumped in, if you just hopped on and you missed all of that, you got to go back and watch that for sure, because you'll learn some of the tips and tricks when it comes to getting in the game. And even if you're seasoned, I think there's things that you're going to pick up on that Bhaskar talked about that are like, whoa, wait, maybe I haven't been doing that. So you got to go back and check that out for sure. Bhaskar, for sure, we have to talk about the epic Facebook group that you and Dan co-founded, created, and I saw it from the beginning. You guys were blowing it up. Now you're bringing on all these big names. You're bringing in the John Jackson, the Tim Mai, Logan Fulmer, all the big time
Al
people.
Nicoletti.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. I'm in there. I'm in School of Sharks, and it's huge what you've all been able to do. You and Dan have built this thing up, and you see the thing in the background. I mean, School of Sharks is a brand. It's an image. It's a thing that you're bringing around and really showcasing. So tell us all about the group, what it's been like. How is it ever evolving? Its growth, everything.
Yes, man. Thank you for bringing that up. School of Sharks is a collective intelligence, collective social influence based real estate education group. We had the idea, Dan and I had the idea, to create a platform that can be accessible to anybody, free of marketing for the most part, free of advertising, free of self-promotion, and really set the stage for learning, for people to be able to come and ask questions without being ridiculed, without being said, hey, you don't even know that much and you call yourself. None of that. We wanted to create a space where anyone and everyone, from beginner to highly experienced people, could come and discuss deals, ask questions, ask about topics that may be complex to them, might be super easy to someone else. For example, I don't know much about probate. Well, guess what? I have Al Nicoletti for that, who's a part of School of Sharks, and I can ask a question, and Al comes and answers that question.
You got it.
We've been able to create an environment where people bring their expertise, other people bring their questions, and there's a solid exchange of knowledge. So if you haven't joined, I would highly encourage and invite you to join School of Sharks. The links on the screen here. Al, when we set out to create School of Sharks, our objective was to impact 1,000 lives in 1,000 days, in 1,000 days. And our group has grown to 4,000 people, and a lot of those people are actively engaging in posting, asking questions, attending events that we are hosting, and we've got some excellent feedback from people that have come to our events. And increasingly, our group has caught the right attention, and we have added some very successful people continually to the group. This group isn't meant to be about me or about Dan or about any one person. It's a stage where anybody can come and share. If you have a win, we love for people to come and share their wins. If they had a setback, we'd love for people to come and share their setbacks so other people can learn from their setbacks and their mistakes. So where it's headed is we're we have some courses available that are very affordable. On schoolofsharks.com, we have some courses pertaining to creative finance, subject to owner financing, systems, CRMs, and the catalog's still growing. It's going to grow significantly over the course of the next 12 months. We've pledged to creating great content. And these courses aren't several $1,000s like a lot of other platforms are charging. These courses are anywhere from $97 to $297, and occasionally we would have a much deeper, much more advanced course that would be at a slightly higher price point. But for the objective here has been to keep it affordable, within reach of anyone who's looking to get started. We also have a lot of free events. We have a lot of networking events, mixers, dinners, and we're also having this amazing event called The Launch, which I'm sure we planned on talking about a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love what it's done from the beginning. I mean, thinking about, all the posts and the inspiring posts people were, posting, and the amount of people that were there, like a year ago, and now it's blown up to 4,000, bringing the big names in, having a lot of education, and something that you and I have talked about too, which is really unique about School of Sharks, is this is not Bhaskar and Dan's first rodeo when it comes to making a group, right? So they've seen the progression of different groups that have been built. And I remember, Bhaskar, you were telling me, like, when we built School of Sharks, it was going to be different. Like, the feel was going to be different. The posting, the way, the interaction, the comments, it was going to be different. And not, you see so many Facebook groups out there with real estate. And in the beginning, they're filtering out the people that may be spamming or, posting listings. But what you've done is created and strategic for inspiration, for things that people are going through, struggles, success stories, crazy things that everybody can engage on. And that's what's been different about School of Sharks, right? You have that ability. And then you're doing the webinars. Dan, I saw Dan the other day doing the webinars, and then dinner with the Sharks is crazy. And then now the launch is like, that's going to be huge with you, Yogi, Bettina. It's going to be, and Dan, it's going to be huge.
Thank you. Exactly right. So you're right. We kept the group free of any self-promotion. It's not a deal marketplace. It's not a flea market for deals. We ensured that from the beginning. We have an amazing team in the back end that ensures that the group is well moderated. We continually clean out troll accounts. We want to make sure people who are serious about learning, sharing, contributing, and growing get to have a say in the group. So we've made sure the posts are centered around knowledge, sharing, deals, deal breakdowns, questions and answers, so on and so forth. And you mentioned some of the events we've had. The events we've had have been focused around, first and foremost, networking and getting in front of the right people. One of the key things that I found had the most impact in my business is being in the right circles, being in front of the right people, shaking hands and kissing babies, like Dan says. We brought that opportunity to anyone who wants that opportunity. Al, if somebody who's relatively unknown in the real estate world approaches somebody who's very well known in the real estate world, 9 times out of 10, he fails at getting through. He fails at reaching out or getting an answer. It happens, I know, because it happened to me. When I was starting out, I tried getting in front of many successful investors, and I couldn't. I didn't have any connections with them. I couldn't ask them questions. The only option I had was to ask for consulting, which I did, and I got turned down. Even wanting to pay money for their time, I couldn't successfully do that. So what we did was we created a series of events that, for a very reasonable amount of money, will put you in front of multimillionaires, successful business owners, people who have been crushing it in real estate. And we had things like dinner with the Sharks. It was a dinner, but you're surrounded by people that are doing 6-figure months, several 7-figure years, people that have 100 units, rental units, people that are selling 1,000 acres of land, people. And I got some great feedback from people that were starting out, and they said, man, I'm just amazed how easy it was for me to go talk to one of these sharks, so to speak. They went up to them, they shook their hands, they presented their business, they asked questions, they got feedback, they got tips, advice. And that was one of the missions we set out to accomplish, was to make real estate personalities, influencers, more accessible to people that are starting out. Together, we all succeed, right?
Amazing. Yeah, yeah.
So the next up, I mean, I'm not sure if we're ready to talk about the launch yet, but I do certainly want to.
No, we have to, because I mean, I've seen that promoted so much lately, and it's coming up in June, and I remember like all of a sudden I'm seeing like Yogi's by the pool and he's taking the picture. I'm like, what's Yogi doing? And then I see you and Dan, Bettina, like you guys are just like right there, and I'm like, they're ready to do something, and this is the progression, right, about where it's all headed. So tell everybody, what's the launch? What are you all planning to do? Like, where's it going to be? What's the mission behind it?
Yes. So when I was starting out, I want to say I was like barely wanting to learn about real estate in 2018 timeframe. There wasn't. I wish there was something called the launch back then, because that would have been perfect place to start for me. So we set out to create an event that would allow people that are beginners, that don't know where to get the right information, that haven't been in front of the right successful people, that don't know whether they should be fixing and flipping or wholesaling or flipping land or selling houses or land with owner finance. We wanted to create an opportunity for them to not only get a taste of all these different areas, but be able to see in a workshop style what it is, what does it take to work, operate, and be successful in each of these areas. So we have 4 people, including myself, that are going to be hosting a workshop style 2-day event called The Launch. It's June 24th and June 25th in San Antonio. It is going to be held downtown San Antonio at a very nice venue. And the entire premise of the event is to allow people that are just wanting to get started a firsthand taste of what it is like to launch that career. They'll get a taste of fix and flips from Bettina, who is a master of her craft. She's great at design. She's done countless flips now, and she also teaches people how to do flips the right way. And we have Yogi Mall, who's been having 6-figure months in wholesaling. He's wholesaling nationwide, remotely in any and every market. He's in towns. He's buying and selling property in towns I haven't even heard of.
Wow.
And he's a master at it. He's a master at systems, great person, a huge giver. And he wants to make sure people that come to him to learn understand what it takes to start, operate, and then reach 6-figure months. Then we have Dan Diaz, who is a master of negotiations. He's written the book on negotiating seller finance and owner finance, which are 2 separate things, by the way. He says seller finance is how you acquire property from a seller on terms with little or no money out of pocket. And he's done that in front of me. I've heard him negotiate on the phone where sellers want to just give him their properties because he makes an offer that they just can't refuse. It's such an art watching him negotiate, and he's going to be there presenting how someone can get started with the note business, owner financing, holding on to notes for residual money. And I'm going to be talking about building land flipping business. And I'm not going to focus on all these different aspects. I'm going to talk about what has worked for me. What am I doing to make it work every day? What tools, systems, processes are in place? How do we analyze data? How do we comp properties, comp land? How do we analyze which pieces of land are worth buying, which aren't worth buying? How to create the disposition side? How to create solid relationships with builders and buyers where they take you seriously, where they want to come to you over other wholesalers, and ensure that you're in a true career and not just something that you're taking as a hobby. So that's what I'm going to be focused on, is profitable land deals. What's worked for me is what I'm going to present, and hopefully it'll work for everyone else as well.
Amazing. I mean, that's a great lineup. It's very diverse topics as well, right? I mean, Dan getting into notes and fix and flips, and Yogi getting into a lot of the interesting wholesaling, but also diving in on how do you even get in markets that people even don't know about, or maybe they're not hot, but maybe he'll even talk about the dispo side to the cold markets, because that could be gold right there. I mean, you think about so many markets that are not heating up right now, but you got motivated sellers there.
Right.
How do you dispo those? I mean, what's the price points, and what are those assignment fees going to look like? That could be huge value for people.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
where can people find this, and find out where, if they want to go or participate or be a part of the launch program, where can they find it?
Yes, so we've posted some sign up links on our Facebook group, School of Sharks. So there are pinned posts there that can show them how they can go to the sign up page. There's also information available on schoolofsharks.com, and we have a Facebook business page also called School of Sharks, of course, which has information. So, and anyone who has questions, who wants to ask whether this is going to be the right program for them, they can reach out to me directly. My information will be on the screen here shortly. They can reach out to me at info@schoolofsharks.com, or you can add me as a friend on Facebook. I'd be happy to chat with you. This is going to be the program that people have been waiting on. There's no fluff here. There is only actionable material. It's a workshop style class, 2 days of immersive learning about fix and flips, wholesaling, flipping land, and owner finance. I promise you, by the end of the class, they'll have a much better understanding of which lane should they pick and stick with.
That's going to be big, right? Actually, because you go to all these courses and programs and you think, oh, I got to do this and this and this. But really, the whole idea of what you all are trying to do is come out and going, I want to know this. I want to really focus on this and really hit the ground running, and knowing who you can JV with, who you can partner with, collaborate with on those deals. That's going to be huge stuff. We actually had some questions. I saw a question down below. I'll get to that in a second, but Frank was talking about syndications are gold. Also, lots of people afraid of holding currency, wanting in on real estate deals with ongoing passive income.
Yeah, Frank's right. I mean, syndications do work, right? When you're pooling in large amounts of cash with other investors, and you've got a fund you can pool your money into that is run by successful general partners, that's run by people that have done that before. It's a relatively low risk way of getting passive returns for people that are accredited, right? But syndication may not be for everyone. You may not have the net worth or the requirements to be an accredited investor. You may not have 1 million net worth, or you may not have I believe it's $200,000 of individual income a year, or $300,000 of a combined couple's income a year. So if you don't have those marks, it may not be for you. But if you do, and you're looking to deploy your cash to go to work for you, syndications might be what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's a whole other ball game, right? I mean,
absolutely.
There's some big people doing that stuff, like Brad Sumrock, and I mean, there are big people getting into syndications, apartment complex stuff. I mean, that's huge. But Frank, he's a huge fan of you, Bhaskar. He was saying Bhaskar is one of my IT geek heroes turned real estate investor guy like myself. So
it was amazing meeting Frank and you in Florida recently.
I know,
it was my first time seeing both of you guys, and we should be meeting more regularly and having more discussions like these, for sure.
I love it. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Awesome.
Jonas B said, what kind of marketing budget did you work with to grow your $1 million net worth goal?
So this is a very personal strategy that you'd have to figure out for yourself. I had different tools to work with. I already had a very solid stream of income coming from my W-2, which was already paying me 6 figures a year. My wife also works a very decent job, also over 6 figures a year. And when you have two people with that kind of income, you have cash to play with. You have money you can deploy into turnkey rental properties that if you buy low enough that generate the right amount of cash flow, you can continue to recycle your money by the BRRRR process, or you can buy something that needs rehab, deploy some of your money, go find a hard money lender. If you have the capacity to fix it, you then fix it. You get the property appraised for a lot more, and you cash out, refinance all of your money into it, and you continue to rinse and repeat. So many different strategies out there, but what worked for me was having W-2 income was very helpful. Having great credit was very helpful. Being lendable was very helpful. We were able to save money. We were able to deploy money into the right assets. We didn't take on any massive full rehab type properties. We only looked for cosmetic rehabs or turnkey properties that we could buy on the cheap. Right now is not the time for it. The market has totally switched from what it was 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago when we started. We were able to buy rental properties for $85,000 in San Antonio that were renting for $1,200 a month. Turnkey, no rehab necessary. We bought some properties for $110,000 that are renting for $1,500 now. Turnkey, no rehab necessary. You have to be able to find those gems. Unfortunately, in today's market, the way to do that would be to find a property you can fix, force appreciate, go to a lender, cash out, refi 75% of the value of that property, and hopefully you get all of your money back that you put in, that you can then redeploy into another asset, and then you just rinse and repeat. It's a slow process. It doesn't happen overnight. It took us a few years, but it's possible.
I know you were a fan of the cash out refi when the rates were a lot lower than they
I
are
have
now.
3 point some% loans for all of my rentals. 3, maybe 4% loans for all of my rentals.
Yeah, I remember like you were posting that in School of Sharks. You were talking about like right when it got to that 3%, 4%, like there was that moment of, hey, cash out, refinance, tap out while you can, and then
Oh yeah.
reinvest that so you can, get more into real estate. So, that's an interesting question. How is that going to impact some things with rates going up and being able to get into that strategy? Is that just kind of that was a last year thing to try to focus on different strategies now?
I mean, the rates are going to stay like this for a while, I believe. I'm not an expert on that side of things since I've taken up land, but it's still possible. The people need housing. You're still creating value by rehabbing homes. You're adding value to a property. That asset is appreciating, and rates are mid fives now. They might be in 7 or 8s the next time you try. So it might still be better to do that now than to wait later when the rates are even higher. And property prices are going up. I don't see property prices dropping. Rates may drop in the near future. Property prices won't. So historically, real estate's never failed. If you look at several decades worth of data, you've always won, averaging over. If you hold on to an asset long enough, you end up winning out at the end. So get in, buy now, you make a profit. Corey Thompson says you make money going in, not exiting that real estate, right? That asset. So make sure you know what you're doing. Come to the launch, learn how to evaluate properties, learn how to find. Bettina's going to talk about how she finds these awesome houses to flip on the cheap. Yogi's going to talk about what formula he uses to figure out whether that property is worth contracting or not. I'm going to talk about the same thing in the land world, but you get the idea, right? The deals are out there if you know where to look.
Love it. I think that's great advice right there. And if you're starting to get into this, and you missed the whole episode of Bhaskar talking about the land side of things and systems, you got to go check that out. Rewind, go back and watch this or listen to this if you're in the car or on the go, because there's tons of value when it comes to this in land. And he's going to talk about all that stuff at the launch. So again, check that out. Go into the Facebook group, join the group, School of Sharks. It's got tons of value. It is not your everyday, that real estate group out there that's just posting listings and there's a lot of spam. Like this is like real strategic successes, stories of things that people have gone through, engaging content that's in School of Sharks. You got to check that out, but you got to check out the launch that's at the end of June. Bhaskar, What an episode. Love seeing you as always. You drop so much value for the audience out there. I mean, they're going to pick up on so many things. I picked up on so many things. I don't even do investing or get into land and anything like that. And I learned from so much of what investors are doing out there, like you, like Frank, Robert Rodriguez out there. I learned from all of you that are out there, and the audience too, right? The audience. I love that people are watching, and Leslie's watching. I love it. She's out there. So Bhaskar, before you get to your real final words, final thoughts on the Al Nicoletti Show, before you dive into that and before we go, talk to us about the work-life balance real quick, about what that has been like for you, because you could be go, but you also have to be able to take the time to find things on the personal side, decompress. How have you been able to balance the two?
I'm going to give people your example, Al. I want to tell them, when you love what you do so much, there is no need to seek out work-life balance. What you do is your work. It is what your life is. Most importantly, you have to have a supportive framework in your house, in your household, in your family. If you're in tune with your partner, your spouse, your parents, your family, your kids, then there is no such thing as work-life balance or separating the two out. Used to be what I used to seek when I had a job, because I didn't love my job. I was good at what I did. I just didn't feel like that was my calling. I felt work was work, and I couldn't wait to get it over with. I couldn't wait to come home and have dinner with my family, with my wife. I couldn't wait to decompress and play video games or go for a drive or something like that. But now I'm working on something that is truly my passion, my every waking minute, even when I'm sleeping, I'm thinking about what is next for me. What do I need to be working on? I want to create a certain lifestyle, certain way of life for my family, and this is what will get me there. So I'm not seeking to take a break from what I'm doing, and my wife fully understands that. My family, my parents fully understand and support what I'm doing, because without their support, it's a very difficult path forward. With their support, everybody being on the same page, this balance automatically finds itself. We do deals when it's time to do deals. When it's time to pull back and go focus on family, go have dinner, we do that. But when we're done, we come back and we do more deals. I have an amazing team that fills in for me when I'm gone. I do the same for them. We have people that go on vacations, but they take their laptops, not because we ask them to take their laptops with them, because they can be working. Andrew, shout out to Andrew, by the way, he's watching. He was in Florida for like 10 days. He had his laptop with him. He was in Orlando at the Volcano Bay. Am I saying that? And when he was done swimming and having fun in the water, he pulled his laptop out and he was out there writing contracts.
Wow.
So there is this work-life balance. If you love what you do and you know where you're headed with this, work and life are the same thing.
Amazing. I mean, right there. I mean, you've been in this, you've been seeing it, so you've been able to really see what that's like in the work-life balance, right? That's hard for people, right? It's hard for people, but if you love what you're doing, there's really, there's no like separation. It's like one and the same, and then you're just finding the time to be able to do the work, but you're also enjoying yourself at the same time. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah. Bhaskar, final words, final thoughts from you before we hop off.
You can't build a full-time business on part-time hours, on part-time effort. Anyone that is looking to do well in real estate, make a commitment, go in head first, give it everything you have, treat it with all seriousness and commitment, you'll find success. You're only one launch away from finding success. So come to the launch too.
Love it right there. You heard it from him. Bhaskar, you're the man. Thank you again so much for being on my show. Again, love seeing you, love brainstorming and masterminding on these different things in the Facebook world and the systems world. I love hearing all what you have to talk about when it comes to that. But more importantly, I, for the first time, learning a lot of the land side of things from you and the systems you've built and how you've gone from being in that full-time job and now you left that to being full-time real estate. I'm so excited for you. I'm excited to see your successes and to see School of Sharks and the launch keep growing. Shout out to Dan out there. You guys are killing it. It's a wrap. I'll see you soon, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me, man. My honor, my pleasure. Always love talking to you. Thanks. Have a good night.
I love it. I'll see you soon. Wow. Huge episode right there with the man, the myth, the legend, Bhaskar Pandey. He is killing it when it comes to the land and system side of things and growing that Facebook group, the School of Sharks. Again, if you've never seen the Facebook group, you got to go check it out. Join the group. They've got tons of value there, tons of education and things that people are going through today, tomorrow, that are success stories or maybe struggles or inspiration. Those are the things that you really want to see when you really get in a Facebook group. So make sure you go check that out and check out the launch that he's doing. And if you just jumped in, if you all just jumped in and just caught the end of that when we were talking about the Facebook group, you missed all the things on land. I mean, I wrote down notes. I was taking notes on this stuff because I learned some tips and golden nuggets from Bhaskar as he's going through it. And I'm sure the investors and real estate professionals that are out there that are really doing this in the game every day can be huge. And if you want to go check out the replay, it's on the YouTube channel. So check out the YouTube channel under Al Nicoletti. Or it'll actually come out on iTunes and Spotify in the next week or two. So you can check it out there under the Al Nicoletti Show. Or you go on the Facebook business page or the personal page. It's there, so you can check that out. But I love everybody that's watching, engaging. Frank, Robert, Andrew. I mean, it's crazy. I love how you all are watching this stuff and really interacting. I mean, I'm seeing all the comments. Leslie, love the fans, the Al Nicoletti fans that are out there, and everybody that loves watching Bhaskar. I mean, you guys got a huge dose of value when it came to that stuff tonight. So, and for everybody that wants more content like this, more amazing guests like Bhaskar, make sure you go check out the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Twitch. I mean, there's so many, Instagram. There's so many places you can find all this stuff under Al Nicoletti. It's all out there. You can catch the replays, everything, and anything on probate, partitions, quiet title. It's all out there that you can see. So I hope you all enjoyed, and you all are going to see an amazing episode next week with Mark Rotto and Dominic Andrioli on the messy, weird, different world of the Florida market and how they're overcoming, finding all these leads, these leads that a lot of people would think are dead leads, and how they're helping find them and revive them and explain what it's been like to overcome this stuff. So again, more amazing content next Wednesday. Make sure you set your timer, set the calendar. Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. I love you all. Thank you all so much for watching. It's always a pleasure. And I'll see you all next week on the Al Nicoletti Show. Have a great night.